can't afford it anymore. And that's what Trump is telling. Putin is quite clear on this. The world is quite clear on this. The United States wants out of the Middle East, which is why we're standing up Israel to take over the Middle East. We want out of Europe, which is why we're standing up the European nations and telling them they're going to have to contribute a lot more money to their own national defense. They're spending like nothing on their national defense. And we're saying to Putin, okay, guys, you figure it out. We're out. And Putin knows this, and he's going to milk that to the max. That's the best interpretation I can offer you.
Trump is okay. Putin is stuck. Is stuck. Is okay. Trump.
Sorry, we have a rule about that.
Yeah, rule 10.
Why would we want out? We've controlled the world since after World War II. Why would we want to lose control of the world? Maybe we don't want to spend this
Because
much.
we can't afford it, that's why.
Sure.
It's not that we want to, that we can't afford the military expenditure. We're not spending, as Mojo will tell you, we're now spending more on servicing our debt than we are on our military. We can't keep spending this money like this, and we can't. The world cannot rely on the United States to defend them. And so we had to make a decision. As I said, under Obama, we went down from 2 war theaters and 1 brush fire to 1.5. And under Trump, we went down from 1.5 to 1. And we're going to focus on China, which looks like it'll make the move on Taiwan. So China is surrounded by U.S. bases, and we're preparing for them to make their move. That's my interpretation.
Well, I agree with you there. I just don't think we want out. We just don't want to pay as much as we're paying. We want others to step up when it's in their interest. We shouldn't pay the bill. It's like going out to dinner, and I'm paying for everything, and everyone's eating.
It's kind of like how that's kind of how the rich support like the entire nation. Kind of like that.
Yeah, same basic thing. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I don't want to pick the restaurant. That doesn't mean that I don't want the waiter to consider me the top dog at the table. I still do want that.
If you're not paying the bill, then you're not the top dog.
No, I would disagree with that.
Look, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Unless you're a hippie on some restaurant at the beach in Malibu.
Get some Crocs. They're not the stylish things, but they do serve a purpose.
I'll be really fancy. Wear some Uggs.
Ew. Reminds me of my stepmom. Right? Welcome. Anyway.
Ew.
Yeah.
All right, I want to bring everybody's attention in the room to the poll. If we could get everybody that's in here, as long as you have updated your app and can see it, to vote on what your topic pleasure would be, we would greatly appreciate it. It looks like free speech is, well, actually, it's not winning by landslide anymore, but it's still winning.
Wait, in the month has a poll
Remember,
now?
you guys have a chance to determine what we talk about in the month. Sometimes people don't talk at all in the month. Sometimes people are quite quiet. Then there's people like El Norma that are quite vocal when he's in the month. You get an opportunity to pick the topic in the month.
I mean, one of the world's most wanted war criminals is in Alaska right now. I'd like to hear what people think about this.
It doesn't look good for Trump. He seems to an extended political capital. And I agree with these points. Trump seems to have extended quite a lot of political capital on this league. They promised sanctions on Russia if Putin didn't agree to a ceasefire. Previously, the clock ran out, and then Witkov was sent to Moscow. Got gifted a medal and hyped up against the outcome of which was the agreement to at least a ceasefire, right? That was the precondition for not imposing sanctions, and you get nothing. So, and he seems kind of unhappy.
Again, how do you know it's nothing? It's right in the middle of the negotiation, I'm not telling you or the public shit. Holding all my cards really close until I've made a deal with both sides of the equation.
Well, let's go.
Hold on. By the way, in a negotiation, if you guys if you're familiar with negotiating tactics, and specifically if you've read The Art of the Deal, the person that speaks first in terms of what they want is typically the one that's going to get the short end of the stick when it comes to the negotiation. So if you declare what you want, you put your cards on the table, and what's going to happen is there's a natural negotiation that will take place that will erode that position. And so the only thing you can really do is if you declare first, is you can overstate what you want, knowing that you're going to come to a compromise at some point. So I would guess that whatever was discussed would be an overreach, and that this is the beginning of negotiations, not the middle, not the end.
So as Norma was saying previously, right? Like Putin is looking this has been looking this is not the start of negotiations. They have been going on in quite public for quite some time, right? And I recounted just the earliest, kind of most recent part of the negotiation and the conditions, right? Are public. Trump wants ceasefire first, and Putin is not yielding on any positions for months already. It's already that his preconditions have been the same, right? So it's like it's not starting today. There have been negotiations all over the place, following the story for months on end. The back and forth has been ongoing. And if you're saying that the one that like Trump has been publicly asking already at this point, right? Like the initial idea of Trump was that the party that is not negotiating was Zelensky. They have been proven wrong on it, right? There have been many rounds of negotiations where Zelensky was supposed to be Putin, and instead of Putin in Turkey, right? He sends low-level officials that say the same precondition that Russia had already before, which are maximalist, and Trump does not want those, which is basically let us continue the war and vote for militarization of Ukraine, recognition of territory that they hold and don't hold, and he's not been yielding on any of these things. To the extent that Trump then said that unless you yield on any of those things, and you need to at least ceasefire before we hash out the rest, right? I think it was 90 days or something. I don't remember the number of days, X days. And those X days run out just recently, right? It went to Moscow. And then the Alaska happened, so sanctions were not imposed.
Long life Osama bin Laden. Long life Osama bin Laden. The person we cannot reach out to, please.
I think that ship sailed already.
Yeah, okay. Long live Osama bin Laden. The guy's like fish food now. And they like throw him off a boat. Jesus Christ.
Yes, and it'll be no
That guy just called the U.S. horse thieves. I just want to share that with you.
Well, there's worse things to be called than a horse thief.
I put in the chat because I was recalling how many times Reagan met with them when Reagan was in negotiations that ultimately resulted in a treaty, in the INF treaty. But there were many meetings, and the Reykjavik summit, they walked away thinking they did not have anything. So
Send down, of course.
I think that you have to look at the steps, as Roger was saying, the steps along the way in a negotiation process. And if it's just not happening overnight. There's so much posturing going on. But historically, our discussions with the Russians, I mean, I said this to someone else, George Bush, W.
Well, we can like at some point he got to admit that he was just lying on his side, wrong or very hyperbolic and very
I don't think it's lying.
I can just don't think he's lying when it was a lie. Like that is crazy to say you don't think he was lying when he literally lied. I got a phone call. I'll get back to this.
that is a lie.
I think he just miscalculated how long it would take. There's other things I can't just, I say were lies, but so it didn't take one phone call, so it's gonna take several meetings. So what? He's doing the meetings, he's brokering it, he's working towards it. I don't know if you can look at it that way and just try to see the forest through the trees, kind of. That's the direction he's going.
Well, the IMF treaty took 6 rounds of negotiations.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah.
It took a really long time, and Reagan also probably, you could tell me, Roger, historically, go watch the Reagan movie with Dennis Quaid, but there's a good chance Reagan said when he was campaigning that he could, put the Russians in check and do it quickly.
Well, they all exaggerate. Trump, anyone that wants to deny that Trump is a liar, that would just be a weird thing. Of course Trump lies, but they all lie. So you're not saying anything about, anything that you say about Trump is true about all of them when it comes to their honesty, especially when you're campaigning. I remember Drain the Swamp, and then they hired Bull. I remember hearing lock her up, and she didn't get locked up. There's a lot of things that build the wall. Okay, maybe you should get a partial wall.
I've never had sex with that woman. Sorry.
Right. They all lie. We should be able to agree on that. Whether you love Trump, hate Trump, or whatever. When somebody says that, hey, Trump lied about something, without even knowing what the topic is, I'm probably
there's always a chance that that's true. He's a politician. With lips or movies, he's probably lying.
The problem is, it's not the first round of negotiations with Russia, right? Unless we're only counting personal meetings, and Putin doesn't really do a lot of personal meetings, so it's impossible to count that way.
See, I understood this is the first time in many years that Putin met with someone and that he requested the meeting. That's not accurate.
Well, if you remember, they met in Helsinki during the first Trump administration, and Trump behaved in a very odd manner, and I was looking for that tonight, and I saw it. That said, Abby, I hope I'm completely wrong, but your historical perspective does change my understanding. I think it's great to remember that this stuff evolves over time. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right. The only thing I want to add, though, is I think at the time, oh my God, was it who did Reagan meet with? Was it Gorby?
He met with Gorbachev. Brezhnev was in there during that time. Remember, they kept going. They went through premieres. Andreev. I'm trying to remember. They went through a bunch of them.
Was it Brezhnev? Is it Andrei Brezhnev?
Yeah, but then he wasn't in that long. Or there was another one that got killed or died.
But here's the only thing I want to say.
He met with many, but Norm, he met with many. And my point on Bush was Bush met with them 28 times. The fact that Biden couldn't meet with them, and Obama did not meet during Obama's time. Forget how many, maybe 9 times he met with the Russians during his 2 terms.
I remember. So glad that I'll be able to deal with him after the election.
Yeah, to me, the fact that he sits down with the premier of Russia and of China, in
Alaska, it's a little weird, though.
Yes, but again, the fact that he's meeting with them, the fact that in his first term with North Korea, that he could reach out to a crazy lunatic like that.
That's
and,
true.
I see a positive in that. That's everyone's perspective on it.
So I'm hoping you're right as I say it. I'm wrong. I would be very happy. I'll buy dinner if I'm wrong for us. But the only difference in this case
McDonald's for everybody.
Putin is cunning and brilliant. and his ability to remain a dictator for life in Russia. It's not easy. You have to be both brutal and a great chess player, obviously. And if I know that Trump is looking to get out because we can't afford it right now, as opposed to Reagan conveying the message that we will outspend you, we will beat you in this. Your economy is falling apart. And by the way, Russia's economy is still falling apart. It's been dropping, and they're hemorrhaging talent. I think they have 20 million Russians living abroad, and they're losing 20,000 a year. I just heard this figure. The best and the brightest of Russia are getting the heck out of Dodge because it's a nightmare over there. So the question is Trump conveying strength like Reagan did? We will outspend you. We will outlast you. We will bury you. Or is he conveying to Putin, as I think he is, we can't afford to defend Europe anymore. So let's make a deal so we can go focus on China. He wants to defuse the U.S.-Russia antagonism and focus on the real potential rising enemy, and that's China. That's my analysis of it. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I have a question for Abby. Emperor, you want to say more than that?
Yeah, just quickly, I'll agree with Norma. Just for context, I counted the rounds of negotiations with Russia various times, and I counted at least 11 already.
For which agreement?
Oh, but not with Trump. You're talking about...
Well, it includes the United States. Most of them includes United States, let's say, shuttle diplomacy between Bennett, Putin, Scholz, Zelensky, Trump, Putin phone calls.
Just on this one, Emperor? On this, you're talking about just in context on this issue, or
on this issue?
In his entire time in... Okay, got it.
This entire time is Istanbul's second round, Russia, Ukraine. The 30-day ceasefire memorandum presented by United States and the talks around that.
That was Biden, though. Is that fair?
No, this is Trump.
I'm sorry, I must have misheard then. I thought you said Biden. I'm going to do some research. I'd like to see a table and timeline.
The 30-day ceasefire memorandum is Trump. The U.S. brokered Moscow-Kiev delegation is Trump. The Trump-Putin phone call on the U.S. initiative on agreement to launch talks February 2025 is Trump. The Istanbul second round of Ukraine is Trump. Like, there has been a lot of this stuff, right? Like, and I get it, it takes time. My point is, it just didn't start today. They have been doing this, and it's been unsuccessful. So the trend line is not good. But as El Normo said, I would be happy if, like, it works out.
Yeah, but we could have said that with Reagan, too, in the different talks, too, that it didn't look good.
Okay,
I guess that's the point. We could go with any treaty as you negotiate it and how long it takes to go through the process. And when you're in the middle of it, I mean, those of us that deal in negotiation, we could tell you that you have the people on either side saying this doesn't look good, and then boom, it happens.
Well, yeah, as Trump said, there is no deal until there is a deal. I agree with that. But I think we still can comment on the progression, success as it's happening. We don't have to sit and wait. My primary criticism is that Trump has moved from his electoral campaign position, right, which treated Ukraine as the party that is not negotiating, to complete basically reversal to something like a Biden position. Like, there is not much of a daylight between Biden position and Trump position today on Ukraine.
Okay, I asked Rob, and you can be critical, I asked Rob, times Putin and Trump have met over the last 10 years.
Oh, they haven't met. Like, rounds of negotiation.
Oh, you're talking about a phone call?
No, I'm not talking about phone call. Like, talk initiatives and talks, right? Like, so for example, Kremlin.
No, when you said phone call, when you were reading them all.
Right.
Well, one of them was a phone call on initiation of a U.S. initiative, like phone call plus some type of a proposal, right? So it would count as a round of negotiation. Like a phone call without a...
See, I don't know if I would agree with that, but you can make the point.
Well, okay, but like we have to consider that Putin himself doesn't travel like at all. He doesn't travel to Ankara. He didn't travel to any of these negotiation rounds whatsoever, right? Like, so there have been many meetings in Istanbul. I think under Trump there was one meeting, right? And recent, the June 2025, right? Istanbul, that would be Istanbul's second round negotiations, which was kind of sponsored by the United States, right? Then before that, there was Kremlin's 30 days ceasefire memorandum presented to the United States that would be a round of negotiations. There have been many rounds. That's my point.
Okay. Abby, my question to you is, a few members of the stage have expressed extreme disappointment at the lack of information coming out after the talks. Did you have high expectations? What's your feedback on what we've heard after the end of the meeting?
I did not have high expectations, number one. Number two, it's kind of the point that Roger was saying. I think it was Roger who said this, like some things I don't think we should know right yet. Like it's not everything's transparent when you're in this process. And no, I didn't have it.
Abby, you went into the matrix. I think it was Bren that was saying that, but I think Roger also said that in some way, shape, or form. But I know Bren was saying that. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't see that, so I did not expect to hear a lot from this. So I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority.
What we've talked about still has to go to Zelensky's desk to be discussed.
Yeah, of course.
It's a deal in process being brokered, right? Yes.
It's a deal. I mean, I lived. I lived through Camp David Accords, and I lived through the process and of Begin and Sadat back and forth till that finally happened. I mean, it just there's posturing between the parties. Have you guys never been part of a mediation? And the clients are in one room and the other clients are in another room, and you go back and forth, and you can do that for quite some time, posturing back and forth till you eventually can iron out an agreement. I mean, it's just a process. To me, this is just part of a mediation.
I would say in the norm of things, and what I'm hearing is true. But I think for some time, most have been observing and watching the demeanor, how Trump reacts. He always kind of softens up his target prior to them getting there, tenderize them a little bit. And then when they get there, there's always something that you can take away from it. And what that may be is whatever the listener or the person who's observing takes away. Wow, did you see what he said? Or did you hear what he said? You hear what this one said? And in this one, it's like, okay, they're both at eye level. And now I think it's just seeing if he's really doing what you all are saying as far as, diplomatic negotiations, trying to be that in-between piece, or will we see in the next round when, he comes back being who he is with others.
All right, so let me ask you something. Do you think your expectation is go to the room because he brokered the deal with am I thinking India and Pakistan that was very quick, or the one in Africa that just got brokered and was done quickly, and also the ceasefire that Israel entered into with Iran? Do you think that the expectation is, well, those other ones happen pretty quick, that this one should? Is that where this is coming from?
Might be more than a decade.
The negotiation has been going on. The U.S.
Can I answer that when he's done, Abby?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, when Emperor's done. I'm sorry, Emperor, go ahead.
Yeah, the India-Pakistan has nothing to do with Trump. They both said this has really nothing to do with Trump. The Rwanda-Congo negotiations have been going on for, I think, close to a decade, maybe more, like bipartisan through U.S. administration. Still credit to Trump that he finalized it. It's great, but like it's been going on forever.
Okay, Abby, and by the way, your PTR is fucking awesome. Can you ask the question again? I'm sorry, I need to refresh.
My question is, do we have an expectation with this? Because in the short time he's been in office, we have now seen a peace agreement coming out of India and Pakistan. We saw a peace agreement coming out of Africa, and we saw a ceasefire happen very quickly after 13 days with Israel and Iran. So do we have this expectation that this is going to be immediate or overnight because he scored those three already? That was my question.
Hang on one second.
I'll quickly answer that. I think I'm not judging on that stuff. I'm judging him by his own setting of expectation. He said, right, that there would be X days, and within X days, if Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire, I'm going to sanction it. Right, those X days run out 2 days ago, so that we get the Alaska deal. So he's setting kind of the bad expectations. It's not happening, and it's not happening like beginning from. And I agree with Mojo on like campaign stuff, right? Okay, excluding the campaign stuff from the beginning of an administration, there is this recurring kind of thing where he really sets bad expectation of what's going to happen and keeps backtracking on them, just like he backtracked now with the summit.
Okay, so the question is, Abby, I think your question is, because this policies and things that happen have been kind of consistent, can we expect more of the same? Is that basically what your question is?
Yeah, I mean, that's three peace agreements in.
Yeah. And I would say no, because Trump is a fucking idiot and in my opinion, a psychopath. You don't know what Trump is going to do or say 1 minute to the next. I mean, he illegally and unconstitutionally bombed a sovereign nation without an imminent threat, approval of Congress, or declaration of war.
Doesn't need it. Trump didn't need it, Mike, did he?
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does. Without imminent threat.
There was absolutely
no, there was not. What was the imminent threat?
The imminent threat from Iran?
Yeah, tell me, what was it? Imminent threat as in we think they
had threshold capacity.
They had threshold capacity is not a nuclear weapon. Yeah, that's not an imminent threat.
Whoa. Are we talking about Iran? We can get into that if you want to.
Yes.
To talk about the delivery capability and what.
I'm just saying, we're not talking about.
Was telling us. Look,
right.
Go back and
the IMEA, the literal regulation force that literally exists to investigate this, said no, they don't have nuclear weapons.
Mike, when was the last declaration of war?
Hey, Mike. Abby, just a second. My hearing is okay. If we could just bring it down, just thank you so
you're
much.
right. I apologize.
Mike, when was the last declaration of war in the United States?
The entire point I'm trying to make
when was the last declaration
is that that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It's what you said.
You
did it without a declaration. I asked you when it
was. Without a declaration of war by Congress.
We didn't have
without notifying the president can bomb a sovereign nation if there's an imminent threat, but they have to notify Congress 48 hours before the action. Okay, only if this is where the War Powers Act comes in. If and only if there's an imminent threat. Simply enriching uranium is not an imminent threat to life, safety, or security. If that is an imminent threat, we need to glass half the planet.
And what about the 26,000 bombs and drone strikes that Obama did? I hate to do the whataboutism.
Yeah, well, that's all that is.
That's under AUMF authorized by.
That's all that is. What about it? What about that? Oh, so somebody else did something unconstitutional, so Trump gets a pass, but it's okay because it's your guy in the seat.
It's been the policy of our president. From Clinton.
This guy is wrong, Abby. This guy is wrong. All the president has to do is notify Congress 48 hours after the action. He doesn't necessarily have to go through, and he has to just put it to the Gang of 8. He doesn't have to notify full of Congress. The AMF has a lot of carve-outs.
You've been watching too many movies,
so
bro.
this guy is a blowhard and a bullshit.
You've been watching too many movies. You don't know political at all.
You know, I don't
really, I don't. But I mean, I work in it. It sounds like you don't actually know what you're fucking talking about.
I sat with my member of Congress who's a Democrat who agreed with what he did. So, you know, you're just mischaracterizing this. And it's been our policy with our president. Since World War II, we have not had a declaration of war. There was not an obligation. Our intelligence told us where they were, what the threat was, and they made a decision based on our intelligence and based on where they were in their proliferation. End of story. Is he gone?
And as we will do again.
Hopefully.
He's probably gone because, again, he got packed up and realized that other people knew what the fuck they were talking about, and Rachel Maddow doesn't get to rule the fucking day with her feelings.
But I still
Brad, you're right. I mean, it's after, not before. And if I'm not mistaken, that came in place because of what Nixon did, correct?
Correct. It did come in place. In 1973, it became the policy, if I'm right, after Vietnam.
Yeah. So they can do what they want to do, and then they can go ahead and bring it to their attention.
Yeah, and it's a whole variety of ways that they can notify Congress. I don't agree with it. I don't actually like it a little bit. I get some of the strategic and imminent threat strikes, but what that guy was sitting on stage and fucking bloviated on, it's clearly he never even read the baseline documentation for it. So, I don't know. Abby's correct on this one. You don't have to notify 48 hours prior to your imminent attack. If that was the case, we'd have a whole lot of fucking problems going back through to a lot of presidencies and a lot of Congress being absent in their duties to invoke and make sure that was being followed. Because quite frankly, every single administration broke the law then.
So I just want to go back to my question on the topic that we were on. If anyone wants to jump in on that, and I didn't know how long these. I thought India and Pakistan that just erupted and ended, and I really thought Trump did have involvement with that. So I guess I've been corrected on that one, unless someone else has more info on it.
I think he tried to take credit for it. It was bound to happen. He got a little in the mix, and then wanted to claim it was his deal.
And then in Africa,
the Congo Rwanda has been going on for a lot of long.
She's blaming him. The Turkish red guy.
But on I agree on that on domestic authority, although some people might disagree and have legal arguments. The president contends that Article 2 of the Constitution allows limited use of force, but that's not the only thing that binds U.S. presidents, right? There's also international law, which under U.S. Constitution is quote-unquote law of the land, specifically UN Charter. And the type of anticipation, yeah.
So, yeah, we're not bound and beholden by the UN Charter nor the Geneva Conventions. We don't actually recognize.
Your Constitution says that you are.
No, it doesn't. There is actually no article in the Constitution that says we recognize an international body above any U.S. citizen. There just doesn't.
Well, you don't. It's not about international bodies. It's about stuff that you ratify in Congress, like international treaties, like the UN Charter, right? So the UN Charter is ratified by the United States, which makes the United States bound by the UN Charter. Which
the United States is not bound by the UN Charter.
Oh my God.
We just don't.
Are you arguing that the United States is a rogue nation and is illegal?
They're not. Listen, hold on. Listen. Brad's correct here. I think that there is an international expectation that we would abide by it, but we are not a signatory to it.
I'm sorry, are you saying that the U.S. is not signatory to UN Charter?
To
to the Geneva Convention.
Well, I'm not talking, you are a signatory to Geneva Convention, but I'm not
No, we're not.
the convention.
We don't give a shit about it.
We don't recognize any world court or any world authority above us or any governing body above us. We will not recognize.
I'm talking about specific thing. I'm talking about the UN Charter. Are you saying that
the UN Charter does not matter to the Constitution, to an American citizen, nor any political structure that the U.S.
There's nothing in the Constitution that talks about the United Nations.
Do you want me to cite?
Whatsoever.
Let me open the U.S. Constitution. Give me a second.
Yeah, tell me the article and clause.
He's talking about Senate's ability to ratify treaties in Congress, and
let's let him pull it up, and then let him make his argument, and then people can reply.
I want to hear this too. But in all fairness to everybody on the stage, the United States does not recognize any world court. We will not recognize any world court. We do not recognize the UN as a governing body over the United States, nor will we subject any American to be labeled or subjected to any UN governing body or any other foreign body to rule an American citizen. We do not recognize that.
100% right, Brad. 100% right.
So let's find the site from the Constitution. By the way, my favorite constitutional amendment is the 21st. I just want to say that.
Known as Supremacy Clause states that duly ratified treaties like federal statutes and the Constitution itself are part of the supreme law of the land, binding state courts even when state laws conflict, right? All treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. So specifically, that's the Constitution. So specifically, the United States ratified the United Nations Charter when the Senate approved it 1892 in July 28, 1945, making U.S. the first major power to join the new organization. So yes, the UN Charter is the quote-unquote law of the land.
So again, you actually misinterpreted literally everything you just read. The UN Charter
Find me an authoritative lawyer that says that UN.
There's a lawyer on fucking stage right now who actually.
Abby? Yeah, Brad's doing a great job, but I'm happy to jump in, but Brad, go for it because you can just.
Yeah, you don't even understand how our Senate works. Like, this is the problem with a lot of foreign people. We do not. There is nowhere, even in the UN Charter itself, the U.S. picked and chose what it was going to agree to with certain world leaders. The NATO Charter, the U.S. picked and chose what it was going to agree to in the treaties. We determined how that was going to work. Everybody bows beneath us. We do not recognize the UN as a controlling authority. This is why the President of the United States determines what the UN can and cannot fucking do. That, like, I'm kind of confused. But the article you just read out of the Constitution, there was a little thing that you think, well, this is the UN is the supreme ruling body. Again, it's even stated in the United States in their agreement of the UN and NATO and everybody else. We do not recognize any world authority. We do not recognize any world court, and we do not recognize any other governing body outside of our own. There are plenty of nations who do that. Russia is one of them. India is one of them. China is one of them. There's a lot of countries that will say we'll participate in the UN, but you do not get to govern us. This idea that the UN has power does not do it.
Talking about, Brad, I'm sorry. UN Charter is not about governing countries. UN Charter, I have no idea what you're talking about, actually. I was just arguing that the UN Charter, which the United States voluntarily ratified, I gave you the date, right, in the Senate, Congress, right, is a founding member of the United Nations, and according to the U.S. Constitution, it makes the UN Charter.
Nowhere in the U.S. Constitution does an American have to owe allegiance to the United fucking Nations. Fuck the UN, fuck your country, fuck every other country but the USA.
Are you okay, Brad?
No, I don't really fucking, I hate people like you who come in. No, I tell you what. Take your United Nations fucking army. You know, the motherfuckers that like to shoot American soldiers in the back when we have to go win a war. No, yeah, I am. You know how like these green-blue attacks happen? You get the blue little fucking UN fuckers who like to shoot American men and women in the back like this fucking cock monkey, who like to shoot us and then take pot shots and then say, oh, you got to listen to us. Fuck your UN. We would destroy your UN in a heartbeat. And this is why I advocate for separating from the UN because of idiots like you.
Okay,
you prove my point.
you're currently not separated, which makes the UN Charter supreme law of the land. According to
No, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, come on, man.
Find me
Go
an
ahead. I've got co-counsel here. This is
lawyer.
great. Go
Find
ahead.
me a consensus opinion of United States lawyers that say that the UN Charter is not law of the land. Give me an authoritative consensus opinion on this.
All right, let me just say something. You show me where in the Constitution, which is the law of the land, it relinquishes the. You show me where in the Constitution it says we relinquish the law of the land to a foreign body. Show me where it says that.
I'm arguing that you have relinquished anything to the UN. I'm arguing that the United
This is why we
States
should just like basically bomb these fucking Middle Eastern guys until the turbans fucking disappear and that people can actually live in peace. Like, fuck this Muhammad prophet wannabe.
All right, guys, hold on. Listen, we could do this a couple of ways. One of the ways that I would love to do it is let's do three things. And these are all supported with the rules of the House. Number one, let's stay on topic. Number two, let's keep our shares short. And number four, let's go ahead. Actually, I'm saying them wrong. It's 3, 4, and 5. Stay on topic, keep your shares short, and don't interrupt. If we do those three things, I think we could be good with the other rules as well. But let's try to keep those in mind. Shares short, no interruptions, stay on topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll restate my position because I think people are hearing something else from what I'm saying. I didn't say that the United States relinquished its land to United Nations. All I said that, according to the U.S. Constitution, right, Article 6, Clause 2, known as Supremacy Clause, states that duly ratified treaties like federal statutes, etc., right, are itself part of the supreme law of the land, binding state courts even when state laws are
But what is the treaty?
I'll say
the point.
The treaty is
the treaty that we have with the United Nations is not a treaty to have to abide by all of the.
Hold on, everyone. Look, again, we're doing the talking over each other again. I just want to read something that I looked up here. So, a couple of things. Treaty status. The UN Charter is a treaty that the U.S. ratified in 1945 under the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution. Treaties are part of the supreme law of the land only if they are self-executing, being directly enforceable, or if Congress passes implementing legislation. That was point one. Point two, limits. The Supreme Court has made clear that no treaty, including the UN Charter, can override the Constitution. If there's a conflict, the Constitution wins. That was an important one, so hopefully you drunk that in. Number three, practical effect. Many provisions of the UN Charter are broad statements of principle, not self-executing law. So they don't create enforceable rights or obligations in U.S. courts unless Congress enacts domestic laws to implement them. So those are the facts. If anybody wants to dispute those, happy to have that conversation.
Okay, so I'm not talking about non-self-executing clauses. Non-self-executing clauses like the ICJ, Brad is correct on that, like the International Court of Justice. United States has a clause on the non-self-executing parts of the UN Charter and other treaties, right? That's why it doesn't automatically accept the jurisdiction of International Court of Justice. So Brad is correct on that, right? But other self-executing parts of the UN Charter, like this previous conversation was right of self-defense, are self-executing, right? That's why when United States ambassador to UN goes to United Nations, they open their Security Council hearings, reaffirming, right, that they are bound by the UN Charter, right? So, yeah, both of you introduced some nuance in there. I agree with you on the self-execution and non-self-execution. I agree that under the structure of U.S. law, the Constitution is supreme domestic authority. In international law, the Constitution is not necessarily the supreme authority. But anyway, that's not part of this discussion. We can talk about
then how
it.
do we withhold the
But
funding? How have we been,
What?
since we have the right in the United States at our discretion to, if we disagree with something from the UN, to withhold and condition funding to UN entities or any activities that we have policy disagreements. If we had this, obligation that was a supreme obligation to uphold everything the UN does, then how have we been able
you
to
don't have that obligation.
We have a specific treaty that enables us to not.
The treaty doesn't say that you have to uphold it.
Why can't you finish her fucking statement?
Wait a minute.
Why can't you finish her fucking
If
statement?
we're not going to interrupt you, sir, we're going to let Abby speak without interruption too, right? That's equality, huh?
I apologize.
Also, so you understand, we can pick and choose, which we did, and we can choose to be obligated with human rights, but we can also choose to walk away from the UN if we have disagreements with their positions, which, if you remember, under Ambassador Haley, she walked away from several different positions the UN was doing when she was in. Also, we have Congress that is very significant in how we deal with the UN, and Congress can limit or withhold the same funding that I'm talking about if the members of Congress think that the UN is doing something inappropriate, which is what we're seeing when the UN was supporting UNRWA, and it had Hamas operatives working for the UN and working in UNRWA, and we saw that, and we withheld funding for UNRWA specifically because the UN was doing something that was fundamentally against the policies of the United States. Also, our president can enter into agreements other than Congress to limit the funding and to limit, without having any ratification from the Senate, our president can make those determinations. Our president puts the ambassador in there. I mean, there's so many outs from this. It is not the supreme law of the United States whatsoever, and you're miscalculating it by trying to say that this kicks in through the supremacy clause. It just doesn't. It's not how it works.
Abby, and I don't know if I just got here, but I don't know if it's material to the conversation, but the U.S. is not a party to the ICC.
This is not material to conversation.
That's correct. We're not.
Yeah, ICC has nothing to do with UN. So, Abby, the UN requires members to pay the dues. The expenses of the organization shall be borne by the members as portioned by the General Assembly. This does not. This is just for the functioning of the UN, right? Functioning of the UN does not include UNICEF, UNDP, UNRWA, and all of those things that the United States has withhold funding, etc. Those things are voluntary. UN Charter has nothing to do with UNRWA. Nothing whatsoever.
You're saying the UN, who has under the UN banner UNRWA, you're now saying that they don't, because I just told you that they were supporting Hamas and that they had UN operatives in Hamas, or Hamas operatives in the UN. So now all of a sudden the UN doesn't have a connection.
Are we having a legal argument or not? Legally,
no,
right?
legally, we don't have a legal obligation to have to comply with what the UN votes on. We can choose not to. We have that discretion. That's how we entered into our
UN doesn't.
We can also stop funding it, which is a big push that's happening now.
Abby, I'm sorry. There are many votes in the UN, right? Like there are 10,000 commissions and vote of stuff. What do you mean? If you're saying
they
that
don't matter to the U.S., it does not matter.
Can we have one mic on Emperor, please?
You're saying that the United Nations Security Council, on which the winners of the World War II sits, that according to the UN Charter, right, creates binding legislation, if they so choose to, does not have any authority in international law, and the United States is not bound by it, you'll be wrong. If you're saying that about...
That's incorrect again.
I'm speaking. If you're talking about about General Assembly, then you will be correct. If you're talking about Human Rights Council votes, you would be correct. There are many votes in the UN. Some of those things are binding, like the Security Council resolutions, right? Security Council resolutions create binding law. According to the Charter, that is not false.
It is absolutely false.
This is like basics of international.
No, it's not. It's false.
Okay,
you're fucking lying.
You can yell about it. That is
again. If it was so binding, why is Russia still trading oil despite the sanctions? How is North Korea doing it? How about all the fucking sanctions from the Security Council on Pakistan not getting fucking nuclear weapons? Guess what? That was fucking violated. What about the developments in Iran? How about the funding for terrorist groups around an organization texting? How about your fucking camel junkie, fucking terrorist bombing fucking self fucking people, getting fucking all sorts of Security Council measures against it and still fucking violating them? Again, they're not binding laws by countries. The UN has absolutely no power. It is feckless, spineless, and filled with a bunch of fucking pussies if ever I've met one. Like, it is literally the dumbest organization in the world because guess what? It contradicts itself and all the countries don't fucking follow through. Israel doesn't have to follow them the same way Saudi Arabia has been ruled upon, didn't have to follow them. Fucking Europe doesn't even follow its own fucking edicts when it tries to fucking impose those binding things there. Fuck the UN. Fuck you fucking blue helmets. I wish somebody would fucking nuke that fucking entity because quite frankly, I'm tired of American soldiers having to bail out your countries.
Wait, hold on, guys. Hold on. Everyone, hold on. Listen, let's get back to the shares short, no interruptions. I don't mind the profanity. We have no rules against it. Call me weird. I kind of like the rants that get animated. I kind of like them. All I would request is that we make sure that we just be a little more succinct and then pass the mic to other people for response. I want to see the back and forth, the volley and the serve.
Could I ask Gabby a question? Quick question.
Well, first of all, I want to ask if Brad was complete, and I know that Emperor wanted to respond. Brad, are you complete?
No, we are not binding to this fucking faux organization that does more harm than good. And as someone who's, and I'm sure there's other veterans on this stage who can attest to this, we're well fucking aware of the blue on green fucking attacks from you fucking retards that want to fucking claim UN sanctions and we have an imperialistic thing because we're aware of our brothers and sisters who've been shot at by cock monkeys like you. And as far as you towelheads fucking preaching about the UN, I don't give a flying fuck. I hope you guys fucking figure out that the suicide vests don't fucking work after you try them because I'm quite sick and tired of you guys trying to use the UN as a shield against the US and you being able to circumvent it.
All right. Well, hold on, Emperor. I'm going to just clear the deck for you. I just want to let everyone know Emperor is going to respond. And if he says something that somebody disagrees with, go ahead and write it down. You'll get a chance to respond. But we're going to let Emperor speak. And then I know Jules wants to go. So we're going to have a little bit of a queue, a little mini queue. Not a full queue, just a mini queue. Emperor's going to go uninterrupted. Then we're going to go to Jules. And then we'll just pop it back around. And I do want to make space for people that I know are a little less likely to punch their way in. There's some introverts that are on the stage that want to speak. I know this. So let's try to find a space for them. But Emperor, go ahead, followed by Jules. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so first, Brad, if you're going to bomb the United Nations, I don't know if you know that, but the headquarters of the United Nations are in New York. To the point of whether UN Security Council resolutions can create legally binding obligations on every UN member state. The legal basis of it would be Article 25 of the UN Charter. Members agree to accept and carry out the decisions of the Security Council. Again, reminding you that the UN Charter itself is ratified by the United States and signed into law. And as Mojo rightfully introduced nuance, that is still the law of the land. And the Security Council legal obligations would be self-executing.
Again, there's no enforcement ability. What are they going to do?
Abby,
a different topic.
let me ask you a question, Abby. I don't think that the UN is a treaty. That's where I'm coming from. I was in the tax field. I was an international tax examiner. We had treaties with certain countries. When we had a treaty with a certain country, the treaty took over our laws. We had to abide by the treaty. But that was a treaty with a specific country, not a United Nations. Like we had a treaty with the UK, for example, that interest expense would be done under certain formula with the US-UK treaty. Okay? Not under normal circumstances. The interest expense you pay is what you deduct. We have to follow the treaty. Now, of course, when there's a treaty, there could be disagreements within the treaty. I mean, we could be fighting with another country. I don't want to use the term fighting. We have a disagreement and we have to take it to courts or go up to higher authority, and it can go on forever, which is the right way to do something. Now, my question to you, Abby, is the United Nations, I think he's wrong that the United Nations is a treaty. What do you say, Abby?
What I was trying to say before, we entered into a treaty, and it is on certain provisions of the United Nations. There are certain treaties that, like, let me give you an example. We entered into the civil. It's the covenant. Let me try the initials. The Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and we're bound to that because we entered into that particular aspect of what the UN treaty was. But still, there's no enforcement ability of the UN. These are. It's an outline. I put this in the chat. Framework for the international community to cooperate, but it doesn't. The UN doesn't create laws at all. I mean,
that's right.
So you have to look at it that way. We have made an agreement with certain aspects of what they do, but we specifically carved out that they don't have supreme power over our legal system. If we want to enter into an international treaty on a specific area, we have, but not generally everything the UN does. It's not how we entered into the United Nations in the beginning. So I think the word treaty is throwing people off as you're seeing it. I don't know.
Right. Well, I would say this, that the UN Charter is a treaty, but the treaty results in how it's organized, and we agreed to the organization of it, but we didn't agree to any kind of supremacy in it.
Again, the treaty itself says that, for example, Security Council resolution, right, Article 25, agreed to accept and carry out the decisions of the Security Council, right? Now, U.S. has a veto on the Security Council, so it can guard against any action that are aimed against U.S. interests, right? But it doesn't mean that legally Security Council resolutions, if they are worded in a legally binding manner, are not binding on the United States if that resolution came to pass.
Could I ask a simple question? Or maybe try to see, because I understand you all have a in-depth, and I'm trying to learn something. So if I listen to, I've heard the word binding and different things, or not enforced. So if I put it in the perspective of like a speed, like here in America, speed limit. A lot of us break it, but if they pull you over, you can pay a penalty. Is that the treaty and the UN type situation?
No.
No.
What I'm saying,
No.
that if you break it, nothing's going to happen to you, right?
This is like you jaywalking in fucking France. That's the extent of it. It's akin to that. Maybe you get punished, but I doubt it because it's fucking Paris. And let's be honest, it's the French. No one expects much out of the French. So overall, like, again, it's irrelevant. They have no say. It's like, so here, take this. I will say this. England is full of pussy wanked fucking bitches. That they are feckless, they're colonizers, they're horrible people. They don't, like, I think we should have, like, continued and invaded England again after the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. I think we should have conquered England. I think many nations should conquer England and make them slaves for 1,000 years. And I hate England. I think the Queen is better off buried in the ground, and thank God Lizzie's in a box along with Princess Diana. I hate all of that. So now, according to English law, I can be prosecuted because that's hate speech against the crown. It's hate speech against their government. It's hate speech against the country. They have laws against me targeting their own people. You know what? Good fucking luck, England. Come try it, because the United States will not tolerate you trying to enforce your crime laws in our own land. We are not responsible to the United Nations or any other nation. And secondly, we carry the biggest stick. We have the biggest weapons. We have the best weapons. We have the better fucking everything around. So again, the rest of the world is kind of like, oh, we wish you wouldn't do it. And the UN does not have any legal binding or power over anybody in the United States without going through the president and our own Congress. And Congress and the president are really strict about that shit. So are the courts. So they don't let them.
Real quick, could I ask Emperor?
On this?
That's what I was about to ask Abby. I think Brent's here.
Bren, why don't you co-counsel this with me? I got to get dressed for something. Bren?
Yeah, I mean, was there a specific question? I've been listening.
He's been citing the supremacy clause, claiming that because the treaties were passed by the Senate, that it becomes the supreme law of our land, and it binds American citizens, and it binds us.
I didn't say citizens.
Yeah, and we were explaining that when the UN was founded and what treaties we have with the UN, it's not, we haven't accepted.
I've specifically been talking about the UN Charter only.
And we're saying we're not subject to the full UN Charter.
Plus the UN.
Yeah, so when the UN was founded, right, you have the UN Charter that was drafted. Every single member state that currently exists inside of the United Nations, whether you have, you're one of the 5 with the permanent veto power on the Security Council, or you're any of the lesser member states, you have agreed upon your membership or your entry, right, to the ratification process. And that process says that you are going to abide by in entirety the UN Charter as it is when you join. So one of the things that's there is that the United States, the UK, China, Russia, essentially the founding member states, they agreed to the charter in entirety as it was drafted. Any amendment to that along the way, there's a perceived agreement and a perceived obligation of duty, but there really isn't an enforceable obligation. So as they have made adjustments to the basic UN Charter and the standard rules and provisions operating, if you're one of the original nations, you're only bound by the original rules. Now, when it comes to different decisions that the UN passes, right, the General Assembly passing a resolution means absolutely nothing for enforcement. It has no enforcement action, right? That resolution can then be pushed to the Security Council, and the Security Council is the enforcement end of the UN, right, which is the permanent members, including the US, including Russia, including China, including the UK, including France, that have veto power, right? Everybody else is not a permanent member in the way of veto standing. And so if a measure is passed in the General Assembly, it's a recommendation at best, right? It's an advisory of the opinion of the majority of the nations that are member states. It is not binding on anybody for action. The Security Council then meets on these things. And if a permanent member vetoes it, nobody's bound by that lower decision because it is not considered passed. So if we veto it, if Russia vetoes it, if China vetoes it, it is not a passed measure, and therefore it's not binding on anybody.
And the question isn't about binding. The question is, does it supersede U.S. law?
Well, there's a difference between U.S. law and international law, right? The U.S. is an entity, it's a sovereign nation state that has agreed to certain things.
if the U.S. agrees to abide by an international standard, that doesn't make that a U.S. law, right? That means that the entity of the United States has said, sure, we are willing to abide by that. That doesn't change the laws on the books in the United States. And
but
so
that's not my question. That's not my question.
That's what you just asked, Jules. So perhaps you would do better at wording it more specifically.
No, all right.
That's literally what you just said, Jules.
Does it supersede U.S. law? For example, let's give an example.
Here's the thing. I assumed you would be able to pull that answer out of what I just said to you, right? If they are not, if the United States is not bound by something, right? So if the United States says, hey, this is